What is good, human beings who root for the New York Jets? In this video, I want to talk about some silver linings or some positive takeaways from the 4-win season, a last place finish in 2021. But I still think there are some positive things that we can take away. Number one was our 2021 rookie class, obviously headlined by quarterback Zach Wilson, who we'll touch on a little bit later. But Elijah Moore was an absolute steal in the second round. He looks to be a potential wide receiver number one, if not a solid number two. Running back Michael Carter 1 and cornerback Michael Carter 2 jumped in and immediately were average to above average starters at running back and corner, respectively. Elijah Vera Tucker, although he didn't display the dominance guard that some were projecting him to show, he was solid and above average starter and looks like he can solve that left guard position for years to come. We also found a few nice depth pieces in the mid rounds, guys who play on special teams. One name to look out for next year is Jason Pinnock, who struggled a bit at corner, and they converted him to safety about halfway through the year. And in a limited sample size, he actually performed better than any of our safeties, according to Pro Football Focus. So he could be competing for a starting job next season. We kind of whiffed on these um, safety linebacker hybrids. We took a couple of those, and they just seemed a little small and overwhelmed whenever they were on the field. But they should be okay in backup roles and playing special teams next year as well. Really excited about this 2021 rookie class. Another positive takeaway is the young corners held their own. We went into this season with this cornerback room. I was imagining that we were just going to be getting burned week in and week out. And although we finished last in defense, it actually wasn't mostly to the fault of our corners. Mostly our linebackers and safeties getting shredded in coverage. We were awful against the run. We were awful against screens, and we couldn't tackle. But it's not like our corners were just getting burned deep down the field on a consistent basis. They held their own. Bryce Hall looks like a solid starter on the outside. Michael Carter looks like he can hold down the slot. Brandon Eccles, I'm not sold on him as a starter heading into next season, but definitely he could be your cornerback number 4. He had a couple interceptions. He picked off Tom Brady. He had the pick 6 against Tua, where he jumped on a little stick route, and I hadn't seen a Jets cornerback do that in quite some time. Maybe since we had like Antonio Cromartie, had I seen a Jets defensive back go ahead and jump a route like that. So that was exciting to see. So excited for the Jets' young corners to keep improving into next season. Now, the offensive line actually wasn't as awful as we might think. If you look at the Jets, the analytics and the metrics, they show that the Jets graded out right in the middle of the pack of the offensive line. Obviously, to our eyes, it didn't look like the case. But I think the problems with the offensive line were often chemistry and continuity. There was a lot of times early in the season where guys were missing assignments and you saw free rushers off the edge. Some of that probably due to having a rookie coordinator and a rookie quarterback, not noticing and making those adjustments at the line of scrimmage. But it wasn't a ton of guys just getting like bull rushed and blown into the quarterback's lap, at least our starters. Now, when we had to go to our backups, there's Connor McDermott, who's basically a CFL level left tackle. Yeah, that was pretty rough to watch against Buffalo. But I think the guys that we had are starting 5 once we swapped out LDT for Greg Van Roten were okay. It's definitely a position we're going to need to upgrade in the offseason. We're going to need a new right guard and hope that Mekhi Becton comes back healthy. We'll have to draft a swing tackle for depth, but this isn't a position group that is in need of a complete overhaul moving into next season. Next, towards the second half of the year, the post Zach Wilson injury era, we really saw some creative play calling that I hadn't seen from a Jets offensive coordinator in quite some time. I was always jealous when I'd watch other teams and they're doing reverses and they're using motion and they're scheming guys open, and it just looks so easy. And when you're watching the Jets, it just seems so stale and predictable. 2-yard run, 3-yard run, having your quarterback have to go through multiple progressions on a third down and then a punt. But towards the second half of the season, you can see there's Mike White celebrating on the 2-point conversion when he scored on the Philly special against the Bengals. And then this play, if you remember against the Dolphins, one of the most creative plays I've ever seen on a 3rd and long. They had Jamison Crowder come across on a wide receiver drag, and then he lateraled the ball to Braxton Berrios, who was then able to pick up like 20 yards on a 3rd and 15. So Mike LaFleur, he went into his bag and he pulled out a lot of trick plays. They also did a few like flea flickers on tosses and jet sweeps where they would toss it back to Zach Wilson. They also ran a play like that in this Miami game for a big pickup to tight end Tyler Croft, or maybe it was Ryan Griffin. It was like a 30-yard pickup. So just some ways to scheme guys open and steal some yards that I'm looking forward to what he can add to his repertoire for next season. Finally, the final positive takeaway is, do we have our guy? I'm obviously biased. I'm leaning towards yes. I really believe that we do. Uh, the national football media just seemed like they decided for whatever reason that they were just going to hate Zach Wilson out of all of these rookie quarterbacks. I don't know why, but there isn't another guy you can tell me clear cut you would have rather taken at number 2. Zach Wilson actually played better than Trevor Lawrence, and he beat him head to head. Does anybody really think that you would have? Was anybody arguing to take Mac Jones number 2? I don't think so, and that's good for Mac Jones. The Patriots look like they have, an average starter for them for the next 12 years, but nobody was even considering taking Mac Jones at number 2. So I'm not really trying to hear that. Justin Fields looked completely overwhelmed all year. How Zach Wilson looked pre-injury, Justin Fields looked like that the whole time he was on the field. He took like 10 sacks in one game, just had like no pocket awareness. I like Justin Fields. Hopefully he improves. He needs more support just like Zach Wilson. And same thing and Trey Lance didn't play, so he's still a wild card. And then same thing for Davis Mills, who looked good. Nobody had Davis Mills as a first round pick. So it's really not fair to call him a bust just yet. I think down the stretch, he looked better. He had 4 straight games where he didn't turn the ball over, which had been forever since we had a Jets quarterback do that. And if we're looking at traits, he definitely has the best traits of any of the young quarterbacks we've drafted in recent memory. Sam Darnold, Geno Smith, Mark Sanchez. Zach Wilson definitely has the most athleticism and arm strength of any of those guys, hands down. I'm excited to see what the Jets put around him this season. Second year back with the same offensive coordinator. I think that we have our guy for the future. And those are some positive takeaways, our silver linings playbook, if you will, for the New York Jets 2021 season. Let me know if I missed any in the comments below, and go Jets.